I know that finals are not people's favorite thing. Who really enjoys doing exams? Raise your hand. Oh, nobody? I'm so surprised. Okay. All right. So have I talked before about what my theory is about my final exams that I give? Have I talked to y'all about that before? Did I talk to you about that, Catherine?
No.
Okay. Well, this is my theory about exams. I like these exams for a particular reason. And the reason is I think it's an encouraging time for you guys to see what all you have learned. So I love this quote by Winston Churchill, one of my favorite writers and speakers. This is what Winston Churchill had to say about exams. I should have liked to be asked to say what I knew. They always tried to ask what I did not know. When I would have willingly displayed my knowledge, they sought to expose my ignorance. This sort of treatment had only one result. I did not do well in examination. Isn't that great? That is what I'm really trying to get out of a final exam. Winston Churchill said he would have liked to have been asked to say what he knew. He would willingly have displayed his knowledge. Now, all of you have a tremendous amount of knowledge at this point about writing essays, about essay structure, about style. You have worked very, very hard this year. You've developed quite an array of skills. And so my feeling about the final exam is that this is your opportunity to display your knowledge and to display, to be able to show what you know, okay? I want you to go into this exam with that idea because I'm not expecting anybody to do poorly on this exam. I'm expecting everybody to do just fine. I'm expecting everyone to excel. You will have a checklist. It's in the handbook. Let's look at it. All right, it is the last page of your handbook, page 260. Now, after what you all have been through this year, this just doesn't look so bad, does it? Okay, it should be very familiar. There is absolutely nothing on here that's a surprise, except that there's a lot less on it than you're used to having to do. Okay, what jumps out at you right away that looks very different about this checklist? Okay, right. In the style section down at the bottom, you're going to use all of your style in the paper, but you only have to use all the dress ups. Well, no, don't let me say you only have to use all the dress ups once. You only have to mark all the dress ups once in the whole paper. Now, let me say how distressed I would be if, after all this great writing that's been produced this year, you had one of each sentence type and everything else was subject openers. I would not be amused. All right? So, even though you're only required to mark each sentence type once, I really expect to see a variety of your sentence types, just like you did when you wrote your personal essay, right? You should have the integrity not to use all sentence openers except for 5 other times. All right? You certainly have the skills, so go ahead and, bend your brain a little bit and make sure you include all the sentence types more than once. Ditto with dress ups. What was the point in the first place about learning all the style stuff? Who remembers? Yes, and why would we want to use them? Right, to make it not Boring, the B word, right. Because the fact is if you use all simple subject opener sentences, your writing is going to be as boring as can possibly be. And you should never want that. Now, last year I had this wonderful article that I had found. I think it was on the IEW website. It was written by a student that went to college and graduated from college. And I really should go back and find that. Maybe I'll try to find it here in a few minutes. He talked about when he went to college and he was suddenly released from having to do IEW. He immediately dropped everything that he had learned about writing. For one thing, some people told him that it really wasn't necessary. And he got back his first paper in English class, and lo and behold, his grade was, I can't remember if he failed or if he just got a really poor grade. I don't remember if that is failing. He was aghast because he was a pretty good writer. So he made a pact with himself that he was going to go right back to doing what he knew to do. And after that, guess what happened? That's right. He never had any more trouble with writing in college after that. So don't think of this as just Mrs. Kimbrell's hobby horse and she's going to make you do this stuff and you can't wait to get away from me because you won't have to do it anymore. Okay, so this is your chance to show me good writing all throughout, but you only have to mark one of each kind of dress up, and one of those is a teeter-totter. So if you're hazy about teeter-totters, then go back and review that. Now, where it says, you'll notice on some of the dress-ups it says single/dual next to the ly word, strong verb, and quality adjectives. That means your choice. It doesn't mean you have to mark a single one and a dual one. It means you can choose to mark a single one or you can choose to mark a dual one. Okay? That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Teeter-totter is included. The ing-ed sentence opener. You can do an invisible if you want, just make sure it's marked invisible so I can find it. And then the decorations. You have to have at least one decoration in the paper. All right? One decoration. And the way you mark this, oh, this is handwritten, of course. It's going to be handwritten because that's the only way we have to do this. And most of the time in most classes, if you're going to be asked to write an essay, you would be handwriting it if it's an in-class essay. So in order to mark the style for the decorations, you just mark it with a dotted underline. So if you have a question, do a dotted underline under your question whichever decoration you decide to do. For the dress-ups, you have to underline them. So what do you think I'm going to say about underlining your dress-ups? You can guess. Yes, speak up where Catherine can hear you.
Make sure they're really bold.
That's right. Go bold them, go back and forth underneath it so I can find them easily. Because you know I'm always telling you about these old eyes, about how I have a hard time finding things. Now, I know some of you have done this in other IEW classes before about marking sentence types. When I have you do it in your papers, it's in the actual text, right? It's right before the sentence and it's in brackets. But when you do it for handwritten, those are really hard to find. And so the way I would want you to do that would be to write it in the margin. So Abby, let me see your paper for this assignment for this week. Okay, so Abby has this essay here. So she starts right off with a question. And this is handwritten, so this is a great way to practice. So here's a decoration that would be marked correctly for the test. Okay, dotted underline. Right. Can you see that, Catherine?
Yes.
Okay. And then let's see. I see a quality adjective here, the word common. So that would be, there's pioneered, a strong verb. There's a who, which. There's an ly. Oh, this is easy and fun. Let's see. Now, if I can find a www.asia. I see some, but I'd like to find some that are in the middle of the sentence somewhere. Oh, here's a because. Okay. So Abby got all 5 of her dress ups in. So the difference is, of course, she would be doing it with a dark pencil underline. Okay.
Okay.
And then, let's see. I'll mark her sentence types. There's a number 2. There's a number 1. There's an ly. There's a number 5. Oh, yes, good catch. And let's see, we're looking for a number 4. Do you think you have a number 4 in here? See, I see something with an ing, but it's not really. I see some ing words at the beginning, but they don't really count as number 4s. Okay, I just have to read it more carefully. Okay, so this is how Abby would mark her sentence types in the margin. Okay. So whatever line the sentence starts on that has that particular sentence type, you mark them. All right. Now, sometimes you might even have 2 different sentences starting on the same line. For instance, if you had a number 6 opener and then you started another kind of opener on the same line, and in that case, you would just put whichever one of them came first, you'd put it first, and then you'd put a comma and put the second one. All right. But the point is to put it on the line where it appears. If you want to mark it on that line in brackets, you can, but believe me, I am really good at finding words. So if I see a number 6 there, I will go, okay, is that a number 6? Yes, it is. If I see a number 2, does she have a preposition? If I see a number 3, is there an ly? So you really don't have to mark them in the text. I will find them if you just marked them in the margin. Who's done it this way before? Anybody? Okay, you have. All right. Okay, so that's the different part about the test. All right. Thank you, Abby. That made a great illustration. That's what's different about the test. Everything else, except it's not typed, of course, everything else is the same. Oh, notice something missing totally from the style section. Does anybody know what it is? There should be a cheer for this missing.
Descriptive.
Catherine, do you know?
The descriptive sense adjectives.
The descriptives. I'm not going to worry about it. Now, of course, would I prefer for you to write descriptively? Yes, Mrs. Kimbrell, they said. It's not that I don't want you to write descriptively, but I mean, you know, I want to give y'all a break. I mean, this is a test, 5-paragraph essay, all right? So you don't have to worry about those at all. So mark 6 dress ups, 1 of each kind, mark 6 sentence types, 1 of each kind. Oh yeah, with a teeter-totter, underline it, but the way you really mark those is by putting the TT in the brackets right before the sentence, right? Okay, I don't want anybody to have a heart attack if they can't think of a teeter-totter on this word. Okay, they're really good and I really want you to learn how to do them, but they're only worth 2 points, so don't have a meltdown if you can't think of a teeter-totter. Does that make sense? Okay. Actually, let's forget about underlining. That probably wouldn't be a good thing. Just write it in brackets. In fact, you could write it in brackets in the margin if that's not too confusing. Why don't you write that here? Just draw brackets and put TT and then put in margin. Now, when you practice these at home, you're going to go ahead. Let's see. This is how I did it. When you practice these at home, I want you to go ahead and print up. How many do I have y'all doing? 3. 3 of these lists from your PDF file that I gave you, because you're going to want to print one for each practice test that you're going to do at home. Okay. Let's look over the structure section really quick too, just to remind ourselves of what we must have for basic essay structure. As always, your introduction needs to start with something. Yes, that's the most important sentence really of your whole paper. So we don't want to, you know, we want to have something to start off with a bang. Then you need to have paragraph information, information about your subject that is not found later in your 3 topics, okay? You will see when I give you this, the practice test in a few minutes, you're going to see that there's plenty of extra information. The article we're going to look over here in class is not that long, but the ones I'll be giving you to practice from some of them are pretty long. So there's plenty of information to choose from, okay? Then you're going to state your 3 topics. Now, how do we know what order to put our 3 topics when we're mentioning them in our introduction? How do we know? What determines that? Well, yes, but yes, and really least to most important or least to most interesting, but whatever order your body paragraphs go in, the paragraph, the topic order in the introduction needs to match that, right? Because remember what the introduction does. It's to interest your reader, but it's also to give your reader clues about what your paper is about. And so that's just one organizational technique that really helps your reader to know what it is you're going to be discussing. All right, so it's important. All right, and then you must have a thesis statement. Your thesis statement is an overarching statement that tells you what your opinion is about the subject. Y'all know this. We're just reminding ourselves. You want to have 2 or 3 strong keywords in your last sentence, because where are you going to use those words again? The conclusion, right. Okay, let's see. Sorry, let me wait till that computer stops making that annoying sound. There we go. All right, in each of your body paragraphs, you need to have a topic clincher. So if the topic of the paragraph is amazing rocks, then I would want to see the words amazing rocks in your topic sentence, all right? And also you need to make sure you have a clincher in each one. When you get to the conclusion, you want to restate your thesis statement first, then your 3 topics from your introduction, same order. Don't forget to put in there what is most significant or most important or most weird or most helpful, or we can expand our most at this point, okay? Most interesting, most important is fine. And then your final sentence is going to want to repeat or reflect 2 to 3 strong keywords. Now, all keyword outlines follow the rules. We are going to have 5 paragraph keyword outlines. Make sure you do what you've been doing all along. Now, I did have something really strange happen with a student a few years ago. He made out a beautiful keyword outline. And then he went on to write a beautiful 5 paragraph essay, which had very little connection with the beautiful keyword outline that he had gone to the trouble to write. So I kind of think it's not that he was writing from the article, it's just that he didn't seem to be making the connection between what the keyword outline had to do with what he was then going to write. So whatever information I find in your paper, I would expect to look at your keyword outline and find it on your keyword outline, right? Okay, so, I mean, he did a great job on his writing and everything, and I think his mom that summer made him rewrite his paper and do it the right way. So, so your keyword outlines follow the rules. Yes, your keyword outlines also dictate what you're going to write in your paper. Okay? At this point, none of you are having problems with writing in your own words. I don't want you looking at the article while you're writing. I want you looking at your keyword outline. Doesn't mean you can't glance back at the article if you need to clarify something, or if you remember, oh, there was something else I really should have included in this, and you might want to include something about something you left out. That's okay. But in general, your keyword outline in your paper should match. That's the point of having a keyword outline. I hear a really strange sound coming over your computer.
Yeah, someone's vacuuming outside.
Oh, okay. All right, let's see. Your title, of course, needs to come from your 2 to 3 strong keywords from your last sentence of your conclusion. And I think the article we're going to look at in a few minutes is chocolate. They're just really bald encyclopedia articles. I would not expect a paper written from the article to be called chocolate. I want something more than that, okay? Now, when you do write this, this is different in this respect from the SAT and ACT essays we did. I do want this double spaced, okay? You leave a blank line between each line of writing, because if you don't, how am I going to write in corrections, and how can I draw smiley faces? All right? So you've got to leave me some room there. Double space, 1-inch margins, just use the margins of paper. Let's see. I'm going to write in pen because I don't want you going back and erasing a whole bunch of stuff. If you need to scratch something out and change something, you just scratch it out and write it in that convenient space that you left. All right? Just regular old notebook paper. You can use the wide space, or you can use the thin space, whichever you prefer. I said title is underlined with by and your name below it. Really, it would be better just to go ahead and do an MLA heading. So just go ahead and mark that out and just write MLA. You're going to handwrite it, and don't double space those because that would take up half the page. MLA single space heading. Let's see, I need to put a sticky on that so I'll remember to go back and change that. That way, you know, if you turn that in as part of a portfolio or something, people will know when you did it and what it was, okay? And be aware of your banned words, your weak words. All of you know them by now. What is the main one that I will absolutely have a fit over if I see in your paper? Everybody say it together. You. All right. I don't want to see the word you, unless it's a direct quote, but I don't think you'll find that in any of these articles. Okay? All right. Now, let's look at, that is how you're going to do your paper. Now, let's see how you're going to do your homework. Turn back to the page before that, 259. You will notice this is a very different kind of assignment list. You're going to have 3 of these practice tests to do at home. And I want 1 per day. Don't decide I'm going to get done with all my writing homework in 1 day and sit down, because that won't help you. You need to space them out. But what's the other thing I'm going to say? Okay, somebody knows the answer to this question. Yeah, you can have an hour and a half. Don't do more than 1 a day, but don't wait. Don't wait till the end of the week. Space them out. Figure out which days will work best for you to do these. And don't give in to the temptation to wait until the week of the exam to do all 3 of them. Okay? Because then your editor might have a nervous breakdown. All right? Now, you can show these to your editor after the fact, and if your editor can see things that you could have done better or that you left out or something like that, that's fine. Your editor is not going to be editing these. They can look at them and say, hey, did you know you forgot to mark your decoration? Did you know you forgot to put a title? All right? But the editor's not going to be correcting these, and you're not going to be changing these, because you get a one-time go at it in class, right? So this is very different than how we've done this before. Now let's look at page 259 at the top of the page. Let's all read this first sentence together. This homework is not optional. Okay, this is a significant part of your grade. I'm going to be checking your homework while you're taking your test, and you're going to either get a 0 or you're going to get 100. You'll get a pass or you're going to get a fail. Now, obviously, I'm not going to be grading these papers like I'll grade your test. What I'm going to be grading when I'm grading your homework is, do you have 3 keyword outlines, 1 for each article? Are they done correctly? Do you have 3 essays with 5 paragraphs each? And do I see style marks in them? Okay, I'm not going to sit there and individually read each sentence the way I will when I grade your test. But I've had students show up with only 2 of the 3 done, or with no keyword outlines to turn in, or like a paragraph written for one of them. You know, got to have 3 full keyword outlines, 3 full essays, and marked like you're supposed to, if you're going to get 100. Otherwise, you get a 0. This is meant to motivate you to actually practice, all right? I have students, before I got really tough about this, I had students that showed up having not even practiced 1 of the essays at home. And how do you think they did on the test? Right. Because they were anxious, because they hadn't done their practice. That was probably the #1 reason. And they just weren't familiar with the process. The process itself is not hard, but it's a little different because there's a time limit, okay? So that's why it's really important for you to practice this, so you're not surprised and flummoxed. Isn't that a great word? That's one of my favorite words. Flummoxed when you come in for the test. All right, so you're going to be using an article on Leo Tolstoy, an article on cowboys, and an article on the 7 wonders of the world to write from this. Now, I find all of these articles interesting. That's why I picked them in the first place. But don't go and read the articles before you sit down to do your test, okay? You set your timer and then you start reading the articles. Because I want you to have as close of an opportunity to practice it under test conditions as you can, all right? And you won't be able to see the test article until you get here for the test. So give yourself a chance to learn to do it the way you're going to have to do it that day. All right, so here's the directions. Print 3 of these composition checklists. So you'll have one for each practice. Set a timer, use your phone or whatever, but do set a timer for 1.5 hours. Now, the articles, some of them are long, and the one for the final exam is very long. I think the Cowboys one is the longest, and it's about the same length as the one I'm going to give you for your test. Remember way back in level 1 when we first started using articles for writing papers. You just pick out 3 topics that you want to write about, and you read those sections. You just scan over the articles, you see what the topic choices are, and you read those, and you keyword outline those. I think there may be a 8 or 10 page article on cowboys in this book. I can't remember. Maybe it's not that long. Maybe it's only 5. I'm not expecting you to read that whole article before you can start writing, because if you do, you won't get finished. All right. So with the Cowboys one, you can just scan, and I think, let's see, there's a section on clothing. There's a section on trail drive. There's a section on equipment. There's a section on history. There's a section on, I don't know, there's lots of sections. So you just pick the 3 that you thought were the most interesting, and you would write on, you would read those and make your keyword outline on those and write from those, okay? So when you see these articles, I don't want you to go, oh, I'll never finish. No. This is a survival technique. I'm teaching you a survival technique, all right? Okay. Let's see. So you're going to quickly scan the article, read the introductory paragraphs, and scan the bold headings for the topics. Decide on your thesis statement and your 3 topics. Then you're going to make a simple keyword outline with the things you know, background information and attention getter, blah, blah, blah. All those parts that we worked on for the intro. For your body paragraph, you'd write the topic, and you'd write clincher down at the bottom so you would remember. Leave space on your keyword outline so that you can go back and fill in details. So when you start with your writing, normally we have done what with our introduction? What do we usually do when we're writing our papers?
Write it after.
Yeah. But this is a pretty cut and dried kind of introduction. You can probably write it first, but if you don't feel like you can certainly leave a half a page to write your introduction after you finish writing your body paragraphs. If that's what makes you happy, go ahead. But it's fine if you want to go ahead and write it first. Just make sure you include all the parts. Let's see. After you write it, go back and mark your style. Make sure that words most important or most significant appear in your conclusion. Be sure you put your title, because you can't do your title till you're done with the paper, right? That's why people forget it sometimes. On these, you never forget it on your regular papers. Make sure you write neat enough so I can read it, right? I'm not asking for world-class handwriting. I just want to be able to read it, okay? And then you're going to put all of it, all of your homework in all your keyword outlines and your essays in the center clips in the order that they were written, because you're just using notebook paper and it's already got holes punched in it anyway, right? Okay. I don't really need, I mean, you can put those composition checklists in there, but I don't really need them, because all I'm going to do is see if your stuff is in there like it's supposed to be, and I'm going to give you a 0 or I'm going to give you 100. Right? Now, that's how we're going to do it. Now, are there any questions about that right now? Because we're going to go over a process, and I'm going to let y'all actually practice here in a few minutes. Any questions at this point that you can think of? Probably seems kind of abstract right now. Maybe not, because you've done this really so many times. And again, you're really just showing me, and you're showing yourself, how much you know about writing. So this is nothing different. It's just a chance to show what you know. All right? Okay, so let's look at an example. We're going to look at the chocolate article. And if you look at, now some of you may have already, some of you are readers and you'll read anything you can get your hands on. And you may have already read the articles, not realizing that you weren't supposed to. If you have done that, just don't go back and look at them again until the time comes, okay? Don't want anybody feeling guilty. I would have read anything that was in my books when I was in school. So I think Kendall's got a little smile on her face, so I don't know if that means anything or not. No? All right. Hold on a minute. I'm going to get some notebook paper. Oh, there it is. All right. Now, okay. So here's a sample article. You can see the next sample article starts on the next page. That'll be your first homework article. So let's look at the chocolate article. It's one of my favorite topics. So now the strategy is to read the introductory paragraph, or some of them have several introductory paragraphs, and then just look at the topics that are available and decide which ones you think are the most interesting that you would like to write about. Okay, so if we read the introductory paragraph, there's just a little bitty paragraph there at the very beginning on page 226. So chocolate is a food made from the seeds of a tropical tree called cacao. The word cacao apparently comes from two Maya Indian words meaning bitter juice. The word chocolate came from two Maya words meaning sour water. Okay, all right. That's a little information that would do for great background information for your introduction, right? Now, let's, each of you, let's see, I'll go around the circle starting with you, Catherine, and we'll say what topics are available to write about in this essay. Starting with you, Catherine. There'd be the ones in bold black.
So 3 of them?
Just tell me one, like the first topic, and we're just going to go around the circle.
The cacao tree.
Okay, Abby?
manufacturing chocolate.
Chocolate products. Food value of chocolate.
And history. Okay, so I'll give you a minute to look at that and decide which three you think are the most interesting. Because this is how I will have you, this is how I want you to do it at home, okay? So just look at those, and you might read the first sentence of each section if you want to, just to see what you think. And then I want you to put a check mark next to the ones that you think are the three that you would like to write about. Okay, what did you pick, Catherine?
The cacao tree, chocolate products, and history.
Okay, Abby?
The cacao tree, harvesting beans, and history.
Okay.
Harvesting cacao beans, manufacturing chocolate, and history.
All right.
Harvesting cacao beans, manufacturing chocolate, and history.
Are y'all copying from each other? Okay, Kendall. Okay. All right, I picked the cacao tree, food value of chocolate, and history. All right. Now, the next thing you would do is quickly read through the three sections that you picked. All right, so everybody just silently read. And while you're reading, you can actually underline facts that you think are interesting, because you're not going to write every single thing that's in the paragraph. I would say you wouldn't want to have more than 5 or 6 points on each of your outline sections, because you want to make sure you have time to finish. So don't make giant paragraph keyword outlines. Oh, now, just I'll just remind you right now, just because they ordered their paragraphs in a certain way doesn't mean you have to order yours that way. So, for instance, I heard a lot of you chose history, including me. History would probably be really good as the first body paragraph. So just because it comes at the end of their article doesn't mean it has to come at the end of your essay. That's up to you, okay? Man, I have been getting badgered by telemarketers today. Now, obviously, the history and the chocolate product sections are the longest sections. Don't be tempted to put too many facts. Try to limit yourself about the number of facts you are going to use from those sections. You can decide that while you're actually making your keyword outline out, because probably you'll underline more than you can use. I certainly have just now. So this part of the process should be fairly quick. You shouldn't labor over it. None of the articles are any more difficult than this one. Once you've chosen your facts that you are interested in for your paragraphs, you can go ahead and start making out your keyword outline. I would say put Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on your paper just to start with. Y'all see? You might not put yours as close together as I do. And then, you know, write the word introduction on number 1. And I would write down what you have to include in the introduction. Attention grabber. And at the bottom of it, thesis, so you don't forget. I've actually had people completely forget to write a thesis. It'd be really good if you could come up with a thesis before you even started doing your whole keyword outline. For instance, my thesis for the chocolate essay would be, chocolate has made the world a happier place. Chocolate is the key to a long and satisfying life. Or something like that. So I would say attention grabber and 3 topics and thesis. Definitely put that. And whatever your 3 topics are, you can go ahead and list them. Let's see. Cacao tree, food value. Okay, so this is how I would do it. Wait a minute, I'll show you this in a minute. Okay, right, let's see. Catherine, I'll show you first. Now notice on my introduction, I'm not writing out all the facts. I'm just writing down the parts I need to remember to include. And I'm writing that word clincher under each body paragraph so I don't forget to go finish with a clincher. Have you seen everything?
Yes.
Okay. All right, you guys. Y'all can look at this if you need it. Just including little reminders on each section is really helpful when you go to write. That way, in the heat of the moment, you won't forget to go back and write a clincher. You won't forget to write the words most important. Does anybody have questions about this particular part right here? Doing this in class is really helpful. It really gives people a better understanding. So once you've got your basic outline form set up, then I want you to go ahead and start picking out your ideas that you're going to actually use in the, now you don't have to have a clincher in this section. Just 2 or 3 strong keywords for your closing. So once you got your basic outline form set up, go ahead and start writing down your points that you want to include under your body paragraph, okay? Thesis is what you need. Yeah, write the word thesis there. Thesis is, tell me again what a thesis is. Your opinion about what this subject is. Of course, we're not going to say, right, we're not going to talk about ourselves. We're just going to say it. Chocolate makes the world a happier place. All right. Okay, then, now we're going to start putting our facts on our paper. Five points are fine. You'll end up with 6 sentences. 5 or 6 sentences per paragraph is plenty for this assignment. Okay? finished? Okay. So here's mine. Now, I didn't go in and write in all the stuff that I'm going to say in my introduction or in my conclusion. All right, but I did make myself notes so I wouldn't forget to talk about what I needed to. Oh, you're finished too. Okay. Abby's getting close. How about you, Catherine?
I'm finishing up the introduction one.
Okay.
I did 2 body paragraphs.
You did all your stuff for the body?
Yeah.
Made all your notes for your facts? Okay. Now make sure that you don't go over your 4-word limit on your outline points, okay? The point here is to be fast, and if you start writing down large chunks of text, you're not going to be fast. Once you have finished making your keyword outline, you just jump right into the writing. If you have time to write some of it here in class, that's all the better because you can practice that part too. Now, I don't mind if you leave the article open, like I said, if you just need to clarify some things, but I don't want you writing from the article, right from your keyword outline. What is today? Is this the 18th? 19th? Okay. All right, so once you start writing your paper, you can just write your MLA heading like this. And leave a space for your title because you're going to want to come back and write your title when you're done. If you can't think of an attention grabber on your intro, do not let that hold you back. Remember, you can leave a section for your introduction if you want to. And I think I'm going to do that because right now I'm just drawing a blank on my introduction. I'm just going to leave about 3/4 of the page because we're going to be double spacing. And if you end up with extra space between that and your first body paragraph, that's okay. I'm not going to stress over gaps on this assignment. Oh, I forgot to double space when I went to the next page. Don't do like me, okay? I was double spacing on my first page. When I got to my second page, I forgot what I was doing. Started single spacing. Okay, has everybody finished their outline or mostly finished their outline? Catherine, are you finished?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Even though I messed up with my spacing, I do have some sentence types written in and some dress ups underlined for my first body paragraph. And when you start your new paragraphs, make sure you give me a really good indent so I can tell that it's a new paragraph starting, okay? Don't make me guess. I think it is. All right. So it's 2:30. So everybody got some written, I suppose. Now just think about this. What time do we actually start this? Maybe. Okay. So we maybe have been working on this for a half an hour. Right, the actual writing part, reading and writing part. Okay. And some of you have done quite a lot. Some of you have done at least part of a paragraph. Can you see how, with a little bit of practice, you'll be able to do this in an hour and a half? You will be able to very well write a 5-paragraph essay. Okay? So everybody can do this. This is not something that is impossible. The whole point of working on it this next 2 weeks is just so that when you come in to do it, it'll be very fluent. Okay? Does anybody have any questions now that we've actually spent some time making the keyword outline and actually writing a little bit? Does anyone? I noticed that I didn't write a clincher for my first body paragraph, so I would want to go back and add a clincher, but I can do that because I have space now that I remembered to double space. I have space on my rough draft, okay? I am marking, I'm trying to think of style as I go, but I'm not, if I miss something, I could always go back and scratch out and put in a different sentence, okay? So don't let trying to think of a particular kind of sentence type or decoration or whatever, don't let that paralyze you, all right?
Do they mark everything with brackets or just the teeter-totter?
It really doesn't matter. In fact, I mean, you probably wouldn't even have to put teeter-totter in brackets if it's in the margin where I can find it. So I don't care about the brackets so much. The brackets help it stand out when it's in the text when you're typing. That's mainly the point for that. But out in the margin, I can easily see where things are. So if you forgot the brackets, I wouldn't count off for that, okay? That's a very good question, Nathaniel. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Catherine, do you have any other questions?
No.
Okay. All right. So Catherine, since you're just doing this, you know, at home, if you and your mom want to, you know, reschedule it and just do it a different school day, or you can do it with this class. It doesn't matter to me, whichever works out best for y'all. It doesn't necessarily have to be on your class day. I can send her the exam and she can just proctor the exam and then send it to me, whatever works out best for you guys.
Okay.
Is she around?
No.
She's not? Okay, well, I'll talk to her, get her to email me or text me or something, and I can discuss that with her and see which would be best for you all. Okay? Because
Okay.
with you know, being the only one in your class, it really isn't critical what day we do it. You could be done next week if you wanted to. All right. Okay, well, if y'all don't have any questions, if anybody does come up with a question while they're working on, because some of the articles are different. For instance, the Tolstoy one is a chronological, it's a history article. So, of course, you would want those paragraphs to be kind of in chronological order. You wouldn't want to just mix those topics up, right? Anyway, email me or call me, let me know if you have any questions, and otherwise I'll just see you on the last day, okay? All right, thanks. All right. Okay, Catherine, well, just tell your mom and we'll conspire and figure out what to do, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, bye-bye.